Chapter 7. Gideon wins the battle over the Midianites. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. Jerubbaal was another name for Gideon. The camp of Midian was north of Gideon's camp. It was in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord said to Gideon, I want to hand Midian to you, but you have too many men for me to do that. Israel might grab my own strings and save me. So here is what I want you to announce to the army. Tell them, those who tremble with fear can turn back, but they can leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left, but 10,000 remained. The Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men, so take them down to the water. There I will reduce the number of them for you. If I say, this one will go with you, he will go. But if I say, that one will not go with you, he will not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord said to him, some men will drink the way dogs do. They will lap up the water with their tongues. Separate them from those who get down on their knees to drink. The 300 men brought up the water to their mouths with their hands, and they lapped it up the way dogs do, and the rest go down on their knees to drink. The Lord spoke to Gideon. He said, with the help of the 300 men who lapped up the water, I will save you. I'll hand the Midianites over to you. Let all the other men go home. So Gideon sent those Israelites home, but he kept the 300 men. They took over the supplies and trumpets the others had left. The Midianites had set up their camp in the valley below where Gideon was. During that night, the Lord said to Gideon, get up and go down against the camp. I'm going to hand it over to you. But what if you are afraid to death? Then go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Listen to what they are saying. After that, you will not be afraid to attack the camp. So Gideon and his servant Purah went down to the edge of the camp. The Midianites had set up their camp in the valley, so at the Amalekites and all the other tribes from the east. There were so many of them that they looked like huge numbers of locusts, like the grains of sand on the seashore. Their camels couldn't be counted. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling afraid about his dream. I had a dream. He was seeing a round loaf of barley bread came rolling into the camp of Midian. It hit a tent with a great force. The tent turned over and fell down flat. His friend replied, that can only be the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash. Gideon is from Israel. God has handed the Midianites over to him. He has given him the whole camp. Gideon heard the man explain what the dream meant. Then Gideon bowed down and worshipped. He returned to the camp of Israel. He called out, get up, the Lord has handed the Midianites over to you. Gideon separated the 300 men into 3 fighting groups. He put a trumpet and an empty jar into the tents of each man. And he put a torch inside each jar. Watch me, he told them, do what I do. I'll go to the edge of the enemy camp, then do exactly as I do. I and everyone with me will blow our trumpets then. Then blow your trumpets from your positions all around the camp, and shout the battle cry for the Lord and for Gideon. Gideon and the 100 men When Tim reached the edge of the army camp, it was about 10 o'clock at night. It was just after the guard had been changed. After the guard had been changed, Gideon and his men blew their trumpets. They broke the jars that were in their hands. The three fighting groups blew their trumpets. They smashed their jars. They held their torches in their left hands. They held in their right hands the trumpets they were going to blow. Then they shouted the battle cry, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Each man stayed in his position around the camp, but all the Midianites ran away in fear. They were crying out as they ran. When the 300 trumpets were blown, the Lord caused all the men in the enemy camp to start fighting one another. They attacked one another with their swords. The army ran to Beth Sisa, sword Serera. They ran all their way to the border of Meola near the pass. Israelites from the tribes of Naphtali answered. All of Manasseh were called. Asher and all of Manasseh were called out. They chased the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers through the entire hill country of Ephraim. They said, "Come down against the Midianites. Take control of the waters of the Jordan River before they get there. Do it all the way to Beth Barah." So all the men of Ephraim were called out. They took control of the waters of the Jordan all the way to Beth Barah. They also captured Oreb and Zeb. Those men were two of the Midianite leaders. The men from Ephraim killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb. They killed Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. They chased the Midianites, and they brought their heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon. He was by the Jordan River, scared but willing. Gideon was the leader of God's army. He had many soldiers, but God told him he would conquer his enemy with just 300 men. Gideon was afraid, but he trusted God. So he told his men to do what God had told him to do. His men followed his example. They stood around the camp of the enemy and made lots of noise. The enemy ran away in fear. And there are people who are God examples, good examples for you? My mom and dad, I guess. People who will help you trust God, my mom and dad. Tell them so. Then try to be like them as you grow up. I'll try. Dear God, we learned about Judges chapter 7 today. Today, we learned about Gideon winning the battle over the Midianites. Today, we know that a scared but willing leader. Sometimes I become scared too, but we will become a willing person and try not to be scared. And thank you always. Amen. Okay, I gotta say goodbye. So thanks for watching my videos. I hope I see you next time. So goodbye. See ya.